welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Hillary Mulick, a wedding photographer based in North Carolina, and on today's video, I'm going to be talking about the 4 ways that I keep up with taxes all year long. When this video goes live, it's going to be in September, so we'll have a good 4 months before this tax year has ended, and you'll have to be talking with your accountant and starting to exchange reports and paperwork, and that can be a really stressful time. And so I just wanted to use this opportunity to let you know about 4 things that I do in my business to help me keep track of taxes all year long, so that when the end of the year comes, I have all of my reports ready to go. They're all super organized, and it makes tax season really painless for me. So let's get started. The first program I want to talk about is QuickBooks Online. This is how I am able to keep track and categorize all of my expenses that are going on in my business. So I'm going to link all of these things down in the description, so if you feel free to click on any of these links and explore what these programs are. But how I use QuickBooks is I link my bank account to it, my business bank account, so that everything that gets charged to my business bank account, it gets put into QuickBooks, and what QuickBooks does is it looks at those items and it gives me suggestion categories for these things, such as travel or office expenses or contracted labor, client gifts, just any sort of categories that I need for tax season. It'll do a suggestion for what it thinks that item is, and I can go through and quickly archive things or just quickly switch things if it has maybe miscategorized something. And it just makes keeping track of all of my expenses in my business really easy. I'm able to share this to my accountant so that they can look at it in real time and see how things are going, see how the categories are going. They can make category suggestions for me. My accountant has been really great about that. And at the end of the year, I'm able to print out all of my expenses, my profit and loss statement, and it's just been a really great way of organizing all of my expenses in my business, and my accountant loves it too because it just keeps everything just super efficient and super organized. The second program that I use every single day in my business is Honeybook. If you haven't watched my previous videos on Honeybook, I'll link them down below because Honeybook is amazing. It's my client management system. So it manages my clients, manages my proposals and invoices, emails, questionnaires, contracts. Just Honeybook does all the things, but what it also does is it keeps track of my reports for expenses that are going on in my business, such as money that I have coming in from my clients. It keeps a calendar on when to expect those payments, and it also keeps track of all of my sales tax. Since I have my sales tax tacked on to all of my invoices, I can print out monthly reports through Honeybook and see what sales tax that I need to pay that month. So it makes it really easy to keep track of sales tax, keep track of money that I have coming in every month, as well as for the year. The third thing that I do in my business to help me keep up with taxes all year long is kind of a mix between both Honeybook and QuickBooks. So this has to do with collecting information from people you hire as second shooters so that you can send them a 1099 at the end of the year. I know that that's been a real pain point in past years for my business, especially when I have years where I'm shooting a high volume of weddings, and at the end of the year, my accountant needs all the information from all of my second shooters so that they can be sent 1099s, which is a tax document just stating that Hillary Mulick Photography paid this business X amount of dollars in order to second shoot a wedding. So I'm subcontracting their business to do something for my business, which in my case is second shooting. And if I have 15, 20, 25 second shooters that I work with throughout the year, that can be really hard at the end of the year when I'm having to go back and collect all of this information from all of these people. So what I recommend doing is through your client management system, so through what I use, Honeybook, I can send all of my second shooters an agreement when I hire them to second shoot for me, where they can fill out this information. And the information that you need for a 1099 is their address, their phone number, email, their EIN or their social security number, and then also the amount of money that you are paying them to shoot that event. So What I do is right when I hire them to second shoot for me, even if they're second shooting for me multiple times throughout the year, or even if it's just once, I send them over this agreement. They can fill out that information, and then I take that information and I put it in my Quickbooks. And then my accountant already has access to that information because they can log into my Quickbooks, see the people that I've hired throughout the year, and see their emails, their EINs, all of their information, and be able to send them 1099s at the end of the year without me having to do anything because I was able to keep track of this stuff throughout the year. The final thing that I recommend doing in your business to help keep track of tax stuff throughout the year is getting an app called MileIQ. If you do a lot of driving in your business like I do, and if you shoot weddings, you probably do a fair amount of driving, MileIQ is a great way to keep track of your mileage so that at the end of the year, you can just print out that report and send it to your accountant, and they're able to give you a tax deduction because of the amount of miles you drove for business that year. So for example, last year I drove 17,000 miles throughout the year for business stuff, whether it was for weddings or sessions or just driving to the post office or just any errands that I ran for my business. I tracked over 17,000 miles, and I sent that number to my accountant, and they were like, this seems like a really high number. Are you sure you drove this amount? And so I went into my MileIQ, which is where I got that number from. I printed out the annual report and I sent it to them, and they were like, oh, you have all the records saying you drove 17,000 miles last year in your car. I was like, yeah, I do. So a MileIQ is just a great way to keep track of your mileage throughout the year so that you can get a really great deduction based on all of the travel you've done in your business. Before I finish this video, I wanted to remind you guys about my freebie, my free download that is in the description down below, how to get 10 storytelling images with one pose. It's my secret to how I'm able to pose my couples less throughout a portrait session and be able to get a huge variety of photos even as I'm posing them less. And it just creates a really calming environment for the couple. They respond really well to it, and I love it as well because I'm able to deliver a ton of variety of images to them. So if you're interested in that, make sure to grab that in the download below in the description, and I will see you again next week for another YouTube video. Bye guys.